Alright, we're going to take a look at creating a basic HTML widget using Hype and Geogebra. So we're going to start off here in Hype just to give you a little bit of an overview of what this widget in our book is going to do. Now this is one that you've already interacted with. It's from some of the previous pages. So if you remember, we're going to open it up and it's going to kind of tell us what we need to do. And then it's going to say tap to learn, and then it's going to send us to these other pages. So up here across the top of Hype, I have these different scenes, they're called, very similar to slides and a keynote deck. And I'm going to be able to link between these scenes by adding in some interactivity to my Hype program. So across the top, I can have these different elements that I'm going to add to my widget. Over here on the right hand side, if I choose the inspector is very familiar to us as Mac users, so it looks very similar to Pages and Keynote. I can choose different toolbars within that inspector to adjust the look and feel of my widget. And then just different resources, my resource files. So you can see if I tap on resources here, I have these different resources that I used to build this widget. So this is an image. This was my thumbs up image. So this was displayed when I selected the correct answer, so on and so forth. We'll get into that in just a minute. I'm going to switch over to Geogebra now. And in Geogebra, you're going to create a Geogebra sketch, or you're going to download one from Geogebra Tube and open it up in Geogebra 4.2. Remember, this is a free download. So here we go. We've gone ahead and created one, and it is interactive here. I'll notice that as I move things around, I can create perpendicular lines. So let's say this is what I want to create. This is what I want to embed in my interactive widget. So I'm going to say that I'm all done here. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to export this as a dynamic web page. Now I'm going to be brought to the settings of this export. I'm going to select Export as Web Page. If I want to, I can add different titles, descriptions about this construction if I want to, but I'm just going to select the Advanced tab here, and I'm going to adjust my width here. I'm going to make this 1024, and then I'm going to stretch that out by 768. Actually, you know what, I'm going to adjust that. Let's keep that at 650, and I'm just going to make that a little bit less than my iPad screen. So, and then I'm going to select to copy that HTML code to my clipboard. So once I do that, I hit Clipboard. I'm done with my Geogebra now. I'm going to go back into Hype, and I'm going to build a new one. So I'm going to select New. And let's stretch this guy across. So we open this guy up, and I notice that when I first come in here, I'm going to go into my document inspector, and my default size is set to 600 by 400. So I actually am going to change that to my default size for my iBook author file, which is 1024 by 768. And I'm just going to change my zoom here to 50% so I can actually see the entire canvas of this widget that I'm going to create. And I close up my resource library. Alright, now it's going to be time to start adding some interactivity. So this is very similar to adding content into a keynote slide. Here I'm going to add some text. So when I select text, I'm just going to move that text up to the top here. I'm going to double tap, and I'm going to give my widget a title. So Explore Slopes of Lines. It kind of comes in a little bit small, so if I just double tap on that guy again, I'm going to be able to come over here to my text inspector. I'm going to be able to drag that up, change the size of that. If I want to change the color, I can change the color quickly and easily. There we go. Now you'll notice down here at the timeline, this is very similar to iMovie now. This is a timeline for animations. So right now my text came in, and this text is not being animated at all. If I wanted to animate that, I could do so. We're not going to get into animations just yet, so let's just keep going forward. I'm also going to bring in a background color, and that background color is going to be a rectangle. So I'm just going to drop that up there, the top right hand corner, and notice my alignment guides give me a nice way to snap everything to the corners of that canvas. So you'll notice that my rectangle came in on top of my text. So if I want my text to appear on top of my rectangle, I can just simply slide those up and down. So now I'm going to move that forward simply by sliding my rectangle down. Okay, I'm going to select my rectangle. If we want to change the background color, again, I can go into my element inspector. The element that I'm choosing to inspect is this rectangle. We'll just change that to a nice light gray. Alright, so now it's time to add in my HTML code that I copied to my clipboard. So I'm going to come down here to my element and then HTML widget, and that's going to pop this little iframe window right out here. I'm going to click on my pen and I'm going to hit Command V to paste my clipboard, or sorry, to paste my HTML code from my clipboard onto my canvas of my widget. So if I just click off of that and then reselect it, I'm going to resize this window. Remember, it was 1000 by 650, I believe. So I'm just going to resize this. You'll see that it's going to fit very nicely onto my canvas of my widget, and there we go. So there we have it. It looks pretty nice now, and if I wanted to preview this, I could come up here to preview and click on that Safari button. It's going to launch that into a Safari window and allow me to mess around with that interactivity, make sure it all works. So let's add in some buttons now that are going to send us to some different scenes. So I'm going to close this guy up, over to Inspector. I'm going to add a button. So this button, I'm going to drag up here to the top right hand corner, and I'm going to type in quiz. And while I have that button highlighted, I'm just going to change the color of it so it doesn't look like the same color as my background. And I'm also going to change the border color. Let's make the border color a nice darker black color, and I'm going to give it a little bit thicker and maybe make it some nice rounded edges. So I can change the look and feel of all that. And now I'm going to have my button selected, and I'm going to come over here to my Actions Inspector. So I want to build in some interactivity here. So when I press on the quiz, I'm going to, so on mouse click, I'm going to select an action, and I'm going to jump to the scene. Now I haven't built any additional scenes yet. We're going to do that next. But for right now, let's just have this jump to the next scene. So let's go over here to the top of my Hype toolbar, and I'm going to just click on Show Scenes. So now I'm going to add a scene. So I'm going to make this scene, and I'm going to call it the quiz. Alright, so now I can come back here while I still have my quiz selected, and now I can jump to, and now you see that when I choose the scene, I have the untitled scene, which is my home scene, or the quiz. So this is going to jump to that next page in this widget. So let's go over here to quiz now. On quiz, again, I can enter in some questions, build in some interactivity. So let's just throw down a question here. And we'll make this very similar to the one that we created. So how are the slopes of parallel lines related to each other? And a big question mark. Alright, so we'll throw that up there. That looks it's looking a little small, so we're just going to change the size of that. So let's change that to, sure, that looks good. I'm just going to drag that out and resize that. So here's one of my questions now. And I want to give the folks a chance to answer a couple of different things. So I'm going to throw out some buttons here, and I'm going to rename these. So buttons, I'm going to call this one the same slope. I'm going to say the next one is a different slope. Or I'll just say it's different. And I'm going to do one last one. I'm going to say that are opposite reciprocals. Okay, so here we are. We're building these buttons. This is what our responders are going to tap on, and they're going to get a little bit of feedback from that. So here we go. Now we're going to just give them a little bit of feedback. So I'm going to select that button, and I'm going to come over here to my Actions Inspector, and now I'm going to say on button tap, or on mouse tap, or mouse click, I'm going to run a timeline, or start a timeline. So which timeline I'm going to start now depends. I haven't really created any timelines. I'm going to create a new timeline. So this new timeline is, we're going to call this the correct response. So this is going to play anytime a person selects the correct response. So you'll notice down here now on my timeline, if I click on that little up-down arrow, I see correct response and I see the main timeline. So the main timeline is my main page here, and now I have the correct response timeline. So correct response is going to animate. In this case, we're going to use a word, but you could animate an image, you could animate a video, so on and so forth, to play anytime something is selected. So we're just simply going to select a text, and we're going to change this to "Congrats, you are correct." Alright, and let's just move that down there. We'll double click that. We'll change the size. Oh, I don't know. Make it nice and big, and we will make it green. We like green. Green means go. Alright, so there we go. Asparagus. So this is going to play anytime we select that they are the same slope. Alright, in this case, for this question. Now, we need to animate this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to select our text here, and we're actually going to change the opacity of this text. We're going to make it completely blank to begin. Alright, now down here we notice that we're on the correct response timeline. We are going to just drag this cursor out here, and we're going to select the little play button, the red record. So essentially now Hype is going to record any of my animations. So now I'm going to change my opacity all the way up to 100%, hit the record button off, and now I'm going to actually drag this out just a little bit further, and I'm going to select the record button again, and I'm going to change my opacity back to 0. So what we have created here is just an animation of going from showing nothing to showing you are correct when the correct response is selected. So in order to select that correct response, I'm going to come over here to same slope, and I have the action inspector turned open. Remember now, same slope is the correct answer for this question. So when they tap on same slope, it's going to play the correct response timeline, which will look like this. I'm going to press play now on my timeline. Congrats, you're correct. And it's going to fade away. Now if I wanted to make that a little bit longer, I could make that a little bit longer. Just come over here, and I'm just going to drag that out. I can also drag my keyframes down here if I want to do that. And make those a little bit larger as well. If I needed to get rid of one, delete it, I could delete it and start over. So now I'm just going to come back here. I'm going to animate again just to reiterate that. Come all the way out. I'm going to change my opacity to 100%. And now I could also manually add these keyframes just by simply turning this recorder off. I'm going to add a keyframe here by pressing on my little plus, and now I'm going to animate it off by selecting that and then dragging my opacity back to 0. So now my animation is a little bit longer here, and it's going to look like this when I press the "you are correct." Okay, great. Now let's take a look at adding in some other timelines, playlists here. So when different is selected, I actually want to return a different timeline, and that different timeline now is going to be a new one called incorrect response, or wrong answer. So we'll create this timeline, and now we are going to edit this timeline. So we're going to make something appear when they select these different answers. So the wrong answer is going to return the word "sorry, try again." Oops, there we go. And again, I'm going to make that a little bit larger. Let's bring that up. And I'm going to try to spell try. There we go. And we'll just leave it like that. And so now we're going to animate this. I'm going to turn my record on. I have my text selected. Oops, I want to change that actually. I want to change my opacity right away to be 0. And now I'm going to drag it out. I'm going to press my record, and I'm going to animate that back up to 100%. Alright, turn my record feature off. Come out here, I'm going to add a keyframe manually, and then I'm going to drag it out a little bit further, and then turn my record back on and change my opacity back to 0. So now I've animated that for when they select different. I now need to tell my actions that they need to select the wrong answer in order to get that. So there you have it. I'm going to do the same thing for, I'm going to play the same timeline for this selection. So I'm going to say start timeline, wrong answer, and we're good to go. So that's how you can build a question in uses some animation, uses some interactivity, and give that user some feedback. So let's just take a look and see how this is working. I'm going to launch my preview, and this will open up this page here, I believe. I mean my widget into a web page. So here it's going to load. This does need an internet connection, so you can see what that's looking like. Now if I tap on quiz, it should take me to my next page. Here it is. I see if I have a choice of different, it's going to return sorry, try again. It's very, very faint there. Not sure if you can see it. I'm going to tap on same slope. Congratulations. Opposite reciprocals. There we go. Sorry, try again. So it looks like I might need to go back. Oh, there it is. Sorry, try again. Same slope. I got it. So now we built this widget, and it's a little bit interactive for my students. You can keep going as far as building that. It comes time now, if I am ready to package this and get this off my iPad, I'm going to come up here to File, and then Tumult makes it really easy to create an iBooks author widget. So I'm going to go to Export as HTML5 Dashboard Widget, and I'm simply going to name that widget, save it to my desktop, and I'm going to drag it into my iBooks author file. So here we go. This is a test widget, and I'm just going to save it right there to my desktop. I'll save it there. If I go back to my my desktop here, see how we're doing. Here's my test widget. I'm simply going to take this, and I'm going to grab it and bring it over here to my iBooks author file. Oh, I might need to. So there it is. It's on my desktop now. I'm simply going to grab that, and I'm going to bring it over to my iBooks file, and I can drop it in there. So here it is. Now you'll notice that the default view is always going to be the view that you were on in Tumult while you were exporting that. So I'm actually going to go back to Tumult Hype. I'm going to go back to my original scene. This is what I wanted my view to look like in iBooks Author. So now I'm going to choose to File, export this as a dashboard widget. I'm going to choose this as a test widget again. Hit save. Replace the old one. Go back to my Finder. There it is. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to bring it back into my iBooks. You'll notice I can just drag it right on top of the old one. It's going to replace that default view. So now, just like any other widget, I can choose to resize this and open up my inspector and modify the look and feel. So I hope that gives you a little bit of how to create an interactive widget, a little bit of a feel for that. Lots more to learn with Tumult and lots more to learn with Geogebra. So keep playing and keep creating that interactivity for your students.